We're on air.
Okay, so somebody should be waiting in the room.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. I gotta get the mics on here.
So
Because I'm not getting.
my display resolution is 1366.
I gotta find my settings here. Do you have your microphones on? And we can talk first.
Here, I have links here. Not that one, not that one.
Yeah, please hold, guys. We're getting the mic set up.
The one with the red that says Paramount versus
Inez, if you feel like it, set up the TV.
Check 1 2 check 2. Check 2 1 2 check.
Oli mahalo. Uhola ia kamakakūokalani. Pua I ke aloha la. Kukai ia kahaloala. Pavehi mai na lehua. Mai ko oku ia kahalava ila. Mahalo e na kua. Mahalo e na kupuna laea. Mahalo me ke aloha la. Mahalo me ke aloha la. Mahalo.
Duplicated my thing. I don't know if you get it. That's me. You're the host, so you gotta change. Go to where it says more. Go to participants. Are you getting what you want? Oh, you know what? You gotta redo that again. You gotta. No, no. The thing is, we made the wrong person a host. No, you gotta go. Then you gotta go co-host. You have to go co-host. Otherwise, it's not gonna work because I cannot. It's only gonna be you in control. So go back to. just telling you right now. Right, so you know what you do? Go back out, then go to the Facebook page.
Keep working. She's just gonna pull it for us to just open this space
So,
right now.
yeah, go to the, okay, then go to the one you said earlier. Okay. No, this one. Okay, you gotta, no, I am, but how am I gonna show it right now?
Good morning.
You're on live. You can say something.
You have to turn my mic on. Hello, everybody. Good morning. So before we actually get totally started here, we're going to start for the people who may be watching us from the continent. And yesterday I'm Claire Pana, and from Mānoa, we are a group that came from Maui, and together with the Pele Defense Fund, primarily Kalahui, we've put this together to hear the voices of our people, to go straight to the top, to the Department of Interior and the associated agencies. And the only reason we do this is because they are the ones who are making the decisions on our iwi kupuna. And it was made very clear yesterday that we are a little different from our brothers and sisters on the continent, as we are an occupied nation. From 1893, we are an occupied nation. So, with that said, and the groundwork laid, we will continue today. I'm just going to continue something that didn't get done yesterday, and that is if you've heard of the Standing Rock Resolution, it's one where we join with the Native Americans who have the same issues we do with our burials. And the first portion of that is the children's boarding schools and protecting and getting access to those burials and the information that tells us about what happened to the children there. And hopefully some of them will get to come home. Some have already. And second is intentional desecration when they're doing building projects, such as the DAPL desecrating intentionally at Standing Rock. When they found out in the court case where the sacred sites were, they went and destroyed them the next day. And the third part is planning to build upon known burial grounds. And that is the Grand Wailea, which I want to talk about a little bit while they get the video ready. And we'll just show you a video to start, and as people filter in, then we will officially start with the pule. So the Grand Wailea is a great example of all the things that can be wrong. In 1970, they started building the sewer line through the South Maui all the way out to Wailea and Makena. As you can imagine, it's on the beach, right near the beach. And they hit hundreds and hundreds of iwi. There was no law at that time for the iwi, and so workmen took the iwi and put them in wooden beer boxes and put them back onto the sewer line. And some of them have been found, not all of them, but most of them are at the Grand Wailea site. And so approximately a minimum number of 180 iwi were found in beer boxes at the Grand Wailea property itself. And then, that being one of the only sandy areas to land in, there are many, many more iwi there, including burials, mass burials of children who were taken out and never recorded. They were taken out of the ground, taken away in cardboard boxes, in refrigerated, in containered trucks, and not recorded. There are iwi there that was taken out during the construction of the hotel in the white buckets. You know, the nice little white buckets that you use for construction? They put them in there, hid them in the dynamite shack, and took them off property to an undisclosed area. And we feel we know where that is. The hotel resort will not disclose where it went to officially. And then in 1999, the resort hired an archaeologist, and it's based in Honolulu and Big Island, ASM, and their archaeologist said that the study done previously, which said that there were a minimum number of 340 iwi, 340 people were represented by the iwi that was yet to be reinterred in the ground, done by an osteologist who was hired to do this and did this in person. Well, ASM came in 1999, the person who's working for them, and said that, no, they made a mistake. There are about 100 people off. And how did he know? He said he lined up the bones, but that's impossible. because those bones were reinterred before the hotel was opened in 1991. So SHPD accepted this, so we have been fighting to just do these very simple things. Have all the iwi that have been found at the Grand Wailea recorded so they can be protected. Have all the burial preserve iwi kupuna be recorded so they can be protected. Have all the iwi kupuna in burial preserves that they're not claiming, such as the Humu Humu restaurant, which has a big pond. It's supposed to be where you choose your fish, they go catch it for you, and then they cook it. Well, underneath that pond they made is our iwi kupuna, found in records from from SHPD and OHA, disclosing that they didn't want to say anything and make a big fuss because this was occurring at the same time as Honokahua, where they actually brought the burials back to their original resting place. So the cover-up was made by OHA and SHPD, and all we're asking them to do is disclose that the iwi kupuna are there so they can be protected. So far, we have gone to the Burial Council, and the Burial Council said, no more ground disturbance. There's iwi there. And the resort came back and said, well, they're using bad maps, they're using incorrect information. The information we've gotten came from SHPD from this resort. And the information the maps we used were their maps. So the Burial Council, however, I thought was very good, and they said, you know, they have maps, you have maps, everybody has maps. It doesn't really matter. There's iwi there. There's no discounting the fact there's iwi there. Stop digging. And there we have a legal battle because they don't want to stop digging. But the Burial Council also said the boundary areas around the burial preserves have to be determined by the descendants and the interveners of this project. Malama Kakanilua, Pele Defense Fund, Ho'oponopono o Makena, and that they have to be consulted for the boundaries because the Burial Council wanted to be sure that the spiritual space of the iwi that are reinterred in the burial preserve is also maintained. And I give the Maui Burial Council credit for coming forward with something which would be our traditional value. And the third thing that they asked them to do was to disclose where all iwi kupuna, all iwi has been taken off of this property. So we are still going to see what's going to happen with the hotel because they're objecting to the Burial Council being able to say that the burials that are presently in the burial preserves are not inadvertent. They're trying to say that they are inadvertent burials. They've been in the burial preserve for over 30 years, and they're still inadvertent. As SHPD has also said that Honokahua burials are inadvertent. So the many points that are illustrated by the greed and the want to build upon our resorts areas, our beach areas, places where we know we have many, many burials that have been already discovered and recorded is really egregious. And this is what we were trying to stop with the Standing Rock resolution. And so are we ready with the film? Oh, okay. I'm so sorry, then I'm gonna keep talking. I'm sorry, you guys. So what is also been shown in this case is that SHPD not only allows archaeologists to say whatever they want with or without any facts to back up what they're doing, what they're saying, and then approving things without consulting us. This project was held up for 2 years because Susan Lebo, the head archaeologist at SHPD, said, no, I want you to consult with the descendants. I want you to consult with the Hawaiian community. That's not enough consultation. So what they did was they told us that they wanted to go into some preliminary mediation, and Mr. Bill Mehiula asked me if we could have a 408 procedure, and I said, I don't know what that is. He said, well, that's something you do where you say you're not going to talk about what you talk about inside these doors. And I said, well, okay, we just want to ask you about our iwi kupuna. So they did that. They turned in something to SHPD to say that we approved their project after meeting with us. I never saw this until months later, that they had turned something in on our behalf, saying that you know what we said? I think some of you might have seen it on Facebook. It was Palikapu railing that archaeologist for what he does and the lies that they are putting in, and even suggesting that they dig up our kupuna again. And that was our testimony. Tell us where our kupuna are, document it as you should, and stop lying about what is there at the Grand Wailea. So this brings up the hugest issue, that is consultation with Kanaka Maoli about what is important to us, our sacred sites, our burials, and our own ike, the things that we believe in. How can an archaeologist have more say than we do? How can that guy working at SHPD or that lady working at SHPD who's got to keep their job be more important than the words of descendants? And we have 2 descendants who went through the process to become recognized by the Burial Council and SHPD. They have never been consulted in a manner in which they were given any chance to say anything, to make any determination about the iwi kupuna. And that is what's always happening at this time. And I'm just telling you this because I know you all know this, but I'm trying to make a record for the Department of Interior to show that they have failed us. They have absolutely failed us in protecting what is sacred to us. And iwi kupuna are definitely where they have failed the greatest. I don't know if you know this, but there have been 2 investigations that have been called for where the National Park Service has to monitor and correct what's going on at SHPD. And do you know that the first one was called for in 2002, the second one in 2004, in 2009 they did some kind of a survey, and they decided that they would not include burials, that they would not include burials. They would leave that up to the state. And if ever there was a case of having the fox in the hen house, how can SHPD be regulated and having a problem and have the state be responsible when it's the state that is the problem? So National Parks gives them money every year to run their preservation department. and they refuse to regulate and watch and correct what is happening with our burials. And I say this is really this is a great failing on the part. Want a congressional investigation of what's happening with SHPD and Kanakamo'ole, our sacred sites, our mana'o, our traditional knowledge, and our burials. I want to have a congressional oversight hearing. We want them to be investigated all the way from the top, from the National Park Service all the way down to SHPD and the county governments. We want to know why it is we cannot make determinations for our own kupuna. And second of all, I would like to see that Alan Downer of SHPD be investigated personally. Did you know that Alan Downer came to us upon the recommendation of several people, several Kanaka here, knowing that he gave the American, I'm going to say American Indians, sorry if that's not the right thing, the Native Americans, the first people, a really bad time. He gave them a really bad time. And then they sent him to us in 2009. They were so happy that he was gone, but they sent him to us. And how is that for trying to solve the problem? How is that national parks? He sent us your rubbish, the guy that won't answer letters, the guy that won't do anything to help Koloa, that won't help the Iwi Kupuna issues, that will rubber stamp all of these different projects with or without the proper studies and legally agreed upon mitigations. We've heard so much from the Kauai people about what has gone wrong in their project. And we want to know why we still have Alan Downer, the problem that was given to us after he failed with the Native Americans on the continent. Why did we get him? I'd like to ask them to remove him, investigate him, and I hope he never gets a retirement from our state, ever. I have personally had run-ins with him, and I'll just give you one example. We have a contested case against an archaeological firm, and that is Archaeological Services Hawaii, and we did this purposely because they are the company that has been moving our iwi, desecrating our iwi in the sand dunes. Then they admitted they never called the police, the coroner. They never do that. And they've actually been cited for moving 50 iwi kupuna without any permission. So we took that up and did a case against them to take their license away. And in it, they brought Alan Downer as their key witness. He is the person who's supposed to be running the contested case. So this is the kind of state we have. So he came, and there are only two things that make it so that an archaeology company doesn't get a permit. One is they must do their reports in a timely manner, and the second is they have to have one person who works for them, no matter where they are in the world. They have to work for them that has at least a master's level education. So this particular company, SHPD refused to give us the contested case the first time, and so we took it to circuit court because they said we have no property interest in our iwi kupuna. So we took it to circuit court, and the circuit court judge ruled, indeed, Kamakakūokalani have property interest, and the owner of that land does not. So that was the finding of the circuit court in Maui, and so we got our contested case. It took 2 years, you know. That person's been working all that time, or anyway. So what? Yes. So we're appealing it because they gave it to the BLNR, and when we finished our hearing, Dr. Downer said that he didn't see that they had any violation of their. So we went for the lowest hanging fruit as well as the harder ones, is that they don't do their reports. So then we never know that there's iwi kupuna there. How can you plan any kind of design to avoid iwi kupuna or sacred sites if you don't have a report? So Alan Downer says, I don't see any violations. Well, right after that, we were able finally to get into the library. They've been keeping us out for months. That I found a letter that said, from Alan Downer to this company, saying, you are in violation of these reports are due. When I counted them up, there were over 30 reports that this company had not done. And so I'd say he perjured himself. We went to the BLNR hearing. We presented this evidence along with other things. And you know what the BLNR did? They made a ruling that nobody could present any arguments. So they threw everybody's argument out, including ours. And that is the kind of state that we live in. And I hope someone from the federal government is listening, and we plan to take these testimonies and give it to them. Anyway, so even if they didn't show up today to listen in person, they're going to get this report. And are we ready? Video team, are we ready? Are we not on Zoom now? Okay, then we'll bring up the first on the schedule. Auntie Nani and Bridget, are you ready? Okay, come on up. And would you like to go up and sit so we can see you? Yeah, Bridget? Okay. You know, I think these two ladies really deserve a round of applause. Auntie Nani, the years that you have entertained us as well as shown us what it is to be a real warrior. And Bridget, thank you for what?
Bridget, are you going to go on a table?
Yes,
or
no,
is it
yeah.
right here?
Go
Okay.
sit on the table so that you can be comfortable and talk.
Okay, I'm going to grab my.
And Bridget has given her expertise and service, we're going to walk up the ramp on this side, and service to our lahui to help us to preserve our land and our rights. Sorry about that. Sorry, you did good. Okay, I'm gonna move this chair, and then you're gonna come this way. Go straight forward, straight forward. You got the table, turn, move to the left. Come to the right, move to the right. And there's a chair right there under you. Okay, Nani? Take it away, baby.
Okay.
Please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody.
Names.
Okay. Evelina Michael, my kako, ke aloha pumehana. Greetings to all of you present here, seen and unseen, because I know we have presence of kupuna here too. And I always ask them to come. I invite them, invoke their presence for us, so they can continue to shine their lights on us and give us guidance and direction and the ike, the knowledge, for this purpose of what we're trying to do. And what we're trying to do is to protect our burials, our iwi kupuna, and what we're trying to do is get our lands back. And what we want is that the state leave us alone, because we can take care of ourselves. We don't need the state. We're a Kanaka Maoli nation. We've thrived for many hundreds of years. Our leaders prepared us for this, our monarchs, with our constitutions and their leadership in the past. But guess what, folks? This is the 21st century, and we are dealing with things that are different from what they were dealing with back then. In fact, I think it's worse. We've got a kind of enemy that doesn't care for anything except power and greed, and they're inflicting all of that on us. So we have to, we have to wake up, and first of all, and most of all, we have to speak up and let them know, because I believe that the federal government doesn't know very much about what's going on here with our burials, with our lands, the way the people are stealing our lands right from under our noses and using tactics and laws and corruption to get what they want. Now we're tired of this. I'm tired of this. So it has to stop, okay? They gotta get out of our way, because we're moving forward as a rising nation, as a sovereign nation. And our people are, I'm so proud of our people that right now, our 21st century people, our kupuna that have been guiding us for their ike. I feel like I want to chant something. Okay, bear with me. If you guys know the chant, please chant with me. We could do eho mai. Okay? Ready? My heart is pounding right now. I'm feeling something. Kupuna, please come be with us. Okay, ready? Eho mai. Hele. Eho mai ka ike mai luna mai e. O nā mea huna noe au, o nā mele e ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai e ho mai, ka ike mai luna mai e. O nā mea huna noe au, o nā mele e ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai e ho mai, ka ike mai luna mai e, o nā mea huna no e au, o nā mele e ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai, e ola mau la hui o Hawaii, mahalo. Okay. We're supposed to talk about the water. You know, just as important as the burials are, water is our life. And I realized this a long time ago when in 1978, I joined an organization called Kaulana Na Pua. Wow, did I learn a lot. Yeah, we thought that the correct, or the best thing to do was for us to form our own government. So we had a governor, we had a lieutenant governor, Mililani Trask was our Kia Aina, Paul Nevis was our Lucanella, and Kuchikayan was our Kaukauolelo, is our secretary. And we had a treasurer, and his name was Genesis Liloy, a kupuna from Big Island. So we started off small, but we grew into an organization I thought that was a force at that time about what they call the S word, sovereignty, the sovereignty word. That's what we were trying to do, regain our independence, get our lands back, and take care of the people in a proper way. So I joined Kalahui. Another thing was that, I got elected and appointed by the governor to work in the State Environmental Council, which is the council that approves all these land projects and stuff. My job was to create or to enhance our cultural impact assessments that goes into these EISs, these environmental impact statements. So that was an interesting thing because I had a lot to say about the cultural impacts of our Aina, yeah? And then I also formed a nonprofit organization called Ho'okipa Network. It was an organization that was formed to bring people together to malama, preserve, protect our lands, water, and our cultural properties. That was interesting. Learned what a nonprofit was, learned that it was controlled by the government. Therefore, I said, I don't like them telling me what to do. I don't follow state laws because they're fake anyway. So we quit. We don't do nonprofits anymore. We're independent. We're we're non-governmental entity. What else did I do? I formed kupuna councils because learning about our struggles here, we learned that to get more knowledge, we got to check out our kupunas and go learn from them. So we gathered kupunas from all the islands, held conferences. One of our leaders was Bumpy Kanahele, if you guys remember him, Hawaiian Nation. And we had several conferences, one on Kauai that I hosted, of all our kupuna, and then one on Maui, and also one in Waimanalo. And then I don't know what happened to that. That was no more.
Excuse me for this. I know that you're slightly my kupuna, but can you talk about Waialeale?
I can't, but I was just telling you who I was.
No, thank you.
That's all.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I can stop.
We have just a little bit of time.
Only a little bit of time. Oh, okay.
No, you have time to talk, but please tell us about that issue.
About Waialeale? Okay, sure. I belong to a group called the Kia'io Waialeale, formed and led by our kupuna here, Bridget Hammerquist. And it's been an ongoing struggle. They have been stealing our water for over 100 years with these permits by KIUC, which is a Kauai Island Utility Corporation, or the electric company. And it's not good. It's heva, that's why. I don't know how people can do things wrong and not have a guilty conscience about it, yeah? KIEC, they've been doing it for a long time, stealing water, diverting water. Okay, water diversion started when it was plantation days first, so that's when it all started. So now there is no plantation. They left, so now why isn't the water being put back in the streams? That's the fight, that's the struggle, and bringing up to the present, Bridget has been helping out with the legal palapala, contested cases, et cetera, so I'll have her, if there's any questions about me, you can ask. I'm good. And because we're in a hurry now, and okay. We have a time limit, I suppose, Bridget.
No, Nani, they have slides ready, and I can.
Yes, yeah, we did provide a PowerPoint with some pictures.
Yeah, can you tell them what they're seeing on the pictures?
Okay,
I'm gonna just take a minute to give you a little background. In getting involved in the water, what started it was, I think you remember, we had that dairy fight against Ulupono Piero Midiar on Kauai. He was going to put a 2,000 cow dairy on every one of the 5 major islands, forgetting that the slope was down to the ocean and that land-based waste was just going to go right into the sea with rainfall because they weren't going to do anything with the manure. They said it would be good fertilizer, but they were concentrating it on our island in just 500 acres of a valley floor. So it was going to be over 200,000 pounds a month on that valley floor from 700 cows. And we said there's no way that'll stay on the land, especially because there's an extensive ditch network. And as Nani mentioned, there's ditches and ditch systems all over Kauai and other islands that were heavily irrigated for sugar. Sugar stopped on Kauai, our last plantation, Olokeli or Robinson Plantation as it became known, closed in 2009. So under the state law, it's Hawaii Revised Statute 171.58, the water of Hawaii, and this is under our Constitution, the waters of the state may not be taken from ground or surface without a permit from the state. And over the years, one of the things that the Department of Land and Natural Resources has done is they've interpreted that statute to apply only to public lands. They aren't regulating private landowners at all. So that's right off the top. All privately held lands, if they happen to have state streams on them or springs, natural springs, there's no regulation of them throughout the state. And that's something I firmly believe needs to be fixed. And when we went before the legislature in 2019, Kai Kahele, who was then the head of Water and Land, agreed. And he even took on Suzanne Case and Myrna, the attorney for A&B, and said, why is there no regulation of privately owned property and only state lands? Because our Constitution doesn't say the waters of the state that are protected are only state property. It says the waters of the state. All land in the state of Hawaii, all land that has water on it has water that's protected by the state. That's what the Constitution says, but that's not what's happening. So one of the issues that came up in Kauai when they wanted to do the dairy was we found that Grove Farm had promised the dairy 3 million gallons a day of water. That's a lot of water. One of our largest condominium associations on Kauai, Kiahuna, with hundreds of condominiums, I went to one of their meetings and happened to learn that they use 2 million gallons a month for all their houses and all their grounds. And I thought, wow, and we're going to be taking 3 million gallons a day off of our mountain for just the dairy. What's going on? Where are they getting that water? So that's when we started looking into the diversions that have remained in place, even though that statute that Nani referred to, 17158, I had the number, but she was also right. The statute says that when the activity for which the permit was issued ends, the water's to be returned to the stream. In fact, even while the water is being used, it's supposed to return to the stream after its use. And they used to do that in the Hawaiian tradition. They had the avais, they took water out, the water went back in. It kept the water healthy throughout the state because it was allowed to go through the streams. It kept the streams healthy. It kept the fauna, the flora, the oopu, the many variety of oopu, and other opai, others that migrate up the streams from the ocean. It gave them a healthy place to live. The sugar industry, unfortunately, took all the water from the streams. They designed their diversions to take what's called base flow, which is all the flow down to the stream bed. So when we first went to the Department of Land and Natural Resources in 2017, we'd been there in 2016, but in 2017, we were more organized and we had these pictures, and some of those pictures have been added to from what's happened since then, but we showed them that the Waialeale, our main waterway that feeds all of Kauai, the water that's collected in Alakai Swamp, these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of inches of rain a year that Waialeale gets, our beautiful mountain, was being stolen in 100% diversion. And we had as much as 1 mile of the stream with dry stream bed because of the diversion. So we fought for years, and finally in December of 2018, we got an order from the Department of Land and Natural Resources Board, the DLNR board, that stream flow had to be restored in Waialeale. At least 4 million gallons a day had to be flowing from that stream, in that stream, from Mauka to Makai. And Nani, can you narrate these slides for them and tell them what they're seeing? Unfortunately, and I apologize.
Pictures of our Waialeale area, the streams and the
They're gonna come up
waterfalls,
over
and
here.
who is?
Do you see this? Do you have the slides up?
Yes, it is being run,
Okay.
the
So-
PowerPoint.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if you can tell them what each one of the slides is showing.
Oh, okay. This is the crater where all the water is coming from. There's numerous waterfalls there and feeds into the streams. And this is the Kalalau Valley. Waialeale, no, not Kalalau. It's right up northern Kauai, Wailua. Wailua, Ahupua. Aipulale. Can you change the picture now? Woohoo! Here's more of our mountainous, beautiful Kauai. We have a lot of water. We're so lucky. Of course, we've got one of the wettest spots in the world, so we are a blessed, sacred island. Water is life, and we are life. We can supply you with water. We have abundance of water, but we're not controlling it, and that's the problem. So here's another scene of our mountain showing our watershed, which incidentally, I also started Ahupua watershed councils on Kauai. We had several formed in different Ahupua. I think Ahupua is very important for all of you to know about. Ahupua is a way of resource management in a Hawaiian way. And do you know that our islands are divided by Ahupua? We have meets and bounds, which are important that you know what the meets and bounds are because people are stealing lands right from our Ahupua. Can you change this? So study Ahupua resource management, gang. Find out what's going on. What are the resources in your Ahupua besides water? I tell you, one of the best ones is the people living there. That's the best resources, especially Mokupuni. Okay, more views of the mountain. Beautiful colors. The highest mountain on Kauai is Kawaikini, and then Waialeale, though, however. Waialeale is a volcanic crater that has been blown out on one side, and it just fills up with water. Change? Mahalo? Oh, there's more what there. If you ever go to Kauai and get on a helicopter, this is what you can see when you go up to Waialeale. I've done it, and I cried when I saw this. This is so beautiful. You feel the presence of the spirits up there too. Any of you, if you ever go to Kalalau or to Waialeale, up to Blue Hole they call it, where the source of our water is, you can feel the spirits there. And give homage to them. Do a pule whenever you're there. Malama that place. Learn to love it. Aloha ra'aina. Okay, this is can you change these? You got more to say, right? Yeah.
Say next.
Next.
Do they have the dry stream bed?
Can you show us a dry stream bed? Oh, that's not the dry stream bed. Mahalo to Hope Kalai for sending us this PowerPoint.
Okay, thank you. And what we did was we went to DLNR because there was as much as a mile of dry stream bed in the Waialeale stream, which becomes North Fork Wailua, and Waikoko stream becomes South Fork Wailua. And as many of you may know, the Wailua River is a big river and it's navigable. Streams are not navigable and they have the name streams. But these waters collect, and right now on Kauai, they're diverting water from Waialeale, but in 2019, they had a huge storm, and it damaged, there were two storms, one in 18 and one in 19, and they damaged the ditch system, the Iliula ditch system. They damaged it so badly that the water, which went for 5 miles in this ditch system to KIUC's 200-year-old, there were two small power plants, produced less than 1% of the island's power daily. The water couldn't get there from Waialeale and Waikoko. But the DLNR has every year, from 2019 on, continually renewed their revocable permit. And this is something I would appreciate you knowing, and I think the state needs to take care of. When we had the big water fight before the legislature in 2019, A&B was pushing a bill, supporting a bill, to give all water users a 7-year exemption from the requirement to secure a permit before they used state surface or groundwater. The bill finally failed with the help of Marty Townsend, the Sierra Club, and many, many Hawaiian groups met at the legislature and lobbied. And I was just a small part of that project. But we won, and afterward, Kaleo Manuel was made the head of the Commission on Water Resource Management. And I contacted him, and I offered all the energy and support we could muster to help the state with the water management, because in the state of Hawaii, we have more than 300 land leases that the state auditor has already exposed are not securing the revenue that they're supposed to secure from the tenants.
Okay, could you insert the Clean Water Act? There is a request.
Yeah, and this year we had a real accomplishment for the Kanaka Maoli in the legislature. There was a bill passed that kalo farmers no longer have to get a permit for their water. They are now recognized as having the superior right to water, and they need to ask the state not for anything when it comes to water. They take what they need, and they don't have to get a permit. But the others who should be getting a permit are not. And there's only 13 revocable permits out there, and the state is obligated to turn those permits into a lease. And they're supposed to get a lease within a year, but they aren't doing it. They aren't doing it. And I God, scratch my head. How can it take that long to get leases for 13 permits? Because you see, the difference is when there's a lease, there's revenue. They can charge for the water like every other state does. They charge industries for the use of water, and they get revenue for that. Where does the revenue go? Well, when DLNR collects lease revenue, whether for land or water, they're supposed to share, right? 50% goes to the state, but 50% goes to DHHL and OHA. And the water is supposed to be made available for Hawaiian homelands. And that's not happening. Year after year, that's not happening. But this year, we did get a benefit. We did get the Hawaiian kalo growers can now take water without a lease. So, you know, things good are happening, but more needs to happen. And we sued the state, we sued the county because they are taking water from Grove Farm, who doesn't own it, and they're selling it back to the residents of Kauai. So Grove Farm in 2003, and I couldn't even believe this happened. In 2003, Grove Farm and the County of Kauai signed a contract and agreed to build a surface water treatment plant. What does that mean? It was ditch water. They were taking ditch water from an earthen reservoir and selling it back to the people of Kauai to drink after they filtered it. Well, first of all, we pay Grove Farm over $2.6 million a year. We pay their maintenance, operating costs, 2/3 of it. We pay 100% of the power bill to run that surface water treatment plant. All of that was done with no environmental impact study at all. No study was made of all the streams in the East Wailoa watershed that are being deprived of water to feed the surface water treatment plant that Grove Farm is operating. None. And there was state money, state land, county money involved, and no environmental review. So we went before the Supreme Court. We had oral argument on April 5th. The name of the case is Kia'iwai'ovaialeale versus the County Department of Water of Kauai, Kauai Department of Water. And we don't have a decision yet, but we're hopeful. And it's imperative that people stay up on, and I was really happy that Tara watched the Kauai Department of Water board meeting on Zoom, because you will find, for instance, where they talked about this loss of water, that they don't know where it's coming from. Well, they do know one big source, and that was the storm that permanently damaged the Ili'iliula ditch system. KIUC testified to our Board of Land and Natural Resources this past December 10th. They testified that their estimate for the repair is over $1 million. And they don't know, they haven't even committed to making the repair. And yet the state gave them another permit. And they pay $5,000 a month for that permit. So the taxpayers on Kauai, the ratepayers, the water payers, are paying $60,000 a year for water that they can't even be captured because it's leaking out of, it's lost from this broken ditch system. So it's all crazy. But I contacted Kaleo after 2019 and I said, look, there's 13 permits for water in the state of Hawaii. 13 on all the islands, that's the total. We should be able to turn those into leases so the state of Hawaii can charge for the water like the state of California does, like the state of Colorado does. That it doesn't have to be exorbitant, but at least it's a source of revenue. It's not being lost to the people who live here. And then it can go to DHHL and OHA. It's kind of like the Mauna. They lease huge lands, crown lands at the Mauna to the University of Hawaii, who pays $1 a year for their lease, and then the university turns around and sublets that same land to France, Japan, all the nations that have telescopes up there. So what happens to the revenue for DHHL and OHA? It doesn't happen because they only get $1 a year from the university, and they don't get that revenue from the university subletting. So, you know, there really is a lot of problem in Hawaii with the management of land and water. Our state auditor has pointed it out, numerous times that the Crown lands are being leased for a pittance of what they're worth. And all that revenue that should be going to the peoples of Hawaii. And I know I was talking to Iune when he came over to Kauai, stayed at my house, and I said, Crown lands on every island should be turned back to the Hawaiian nation. If they, you know, it is difficult. It is really difficult, sovereignty, because you have a lot of good people that have been beneficiaries. They have purchased property. They didn't purchase it to hurt anybody. They have their family lives on it. But the state has more than 400,000 acres of Crown land. Those lands could go to the peoples of Hawaii. And I think anything you can do to get organized and make something like that happen will be the first step towards sovereignty on every island, to get people onto lands that they can cultivate, that they can live on, that can be their homes at no cost, because it is your land. It was never annexed. There was no treaty. And we did take it fraudulently. I wasn't part of it, but my predecessors were. Anyway, so we have a water case going against KIUC. We have a water case that's just been filed in the circuit court here. We're before Judge Crabtree because we're challenging, just like Carmichael did, we're challenging that renewal of a revocable permit year after year, and now, ridiculous, since June of 2019, they haven't been able to use any of the water that their diversions are set to remove. So it's ridiculous. I asked the question, and one of the board members in December, in turn, asked his own Ian Kagimoto in the Department of Water. They asked, how hard would it be for KIUC to reapply for a diversion permit after they make a decision and after if they do decide to fix the ditch system, how hard would it be for them to renew their permit application? And the first words, oh, I know, it was actually the head of the water division, the DLNR division. I'm sorry, I'm not remembering his name. He's been there forever. But he said, what is it? Somebody else. I'm sorry. He said, oh, it's not hard. And then he said, but you know, they kind of had it for a long time, so it's kind of like having a right. Yeah, we don't want to turn it off. And I'm like, what? They're not using the water. Ratepayers are paying for it since 2019, every month a fee for the permit. The state's not getting much, but they're getting $5,000 a month, but then we have to pay it, and nobody's using the water because it's leaking out of the ditch system. It's lost, it's wasted, it's wasteful. Millions of gallons every month are lost from that leak, millions. And they've been lost since the middle of 2019 when the storm hit the siphon and ruined the transmission in the ditch system. So, you know, it was crazy, but I couldn't believe the board renewed their permit again. They're not even using it. It's supposed to be a permit for a beneficial use, but there's no use capable. It's not able to be used. It can't even make it down to the hydropower plants. They've proven that. They said it in their own letter. They've not used the water since June of 2019. So why is the permit being renewed? Why are ratepayers paying a bill? So we filed a lawsuit just this past January, with the First Circuit. We're in front of Judge Crabtree here on Oahu. And we have our other water lawsuit, Kiaivaio Vaialeali versus Kauai Department of Water, that's going to be decided by the Supreme Court. So we're working on things on Kauai, but good that you all do what you do, because you have to keep your voice up. And I don't know that the Department of Interior or the EPA even realize how badly the laws, the federal laws, are being enforced. They're not being enforced here in Hawaii. And I'm going to turn it back over to Nani in case, I apologize, I've been going blind and I have very little vision, so I can't narrate this PowerPoint, but she can show you if there's anything else that we need. And we'll take questions if anybody has questions.
You're on. Mahalo, Bridget. Okay, yes, we have a question, and there was also a suggestion that someone wanted to hear you repeat the Clean Water Act. Oh, can you explain the Clean Water Act? Okay, that was Tim's suggestion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Clean Water Act is a federal act under the EPA, and when we fought the dairy, the ground that we used was that they were excavating and hitting water, which they just did in Kauai again, without proper permits, without national pollution discharge elimination permits. And so we were in federal court for that case against the proposed dairy, and we did win. The judge found that they were excavating, they were impacting. It's an act basically that says you cannot put trash, caca, into streams or the ocean, the waters of the nation. And so we used that, and if I could find an attorney comfortable to go to federal court. In the Kaloa case, I think we have the same issue there, because when Geolabs came to drill, they actually said to Mana and Elizabeth, wow, we're hitting water. In our area, we hit fresh water 2 to 3 feet below the surface. So that's another avenue to go in federal court. But it's expensive, and you have to find an attorney that's comfortable being there. And I'm retired. I'm no longer actively practicing. But Tim, does that answer your question? Or was there another aspect of that you wanted to know?
Tim is back there.
I can't see.
Tim, can you hear me? Oh, he's too busy talking over there.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, Tim, did she answer your question? That was about the clean water that you asked about. I hope she answered your question. And we have another question here as well as over here.
Okay.
So, yeah, she's first. That's,
Okay.
we've got to
Yeah.
field questions now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mahalo e
Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Kona, I wonder if you could share some mana'o too about your excursions up Waialeale. You've been up, yeah? You want to share something? You have something you want to share? No. Okay. Okay.
Are we on? Yeah.
Mahalo nui e anake Bridget. And so I just wanted to ask you, just for my knowledge, what are the 13 permits that are out there, if they have like a specific name to a specific person or company? That's my first question. And the second question would be, would it help to kind of show up in numbers at these Board of Water meetings? I know you have that court case, against them, but would it help? And then if so, what is it that you need help with that where it can show up in numbers to the meeting?
It always helps for numbers, yes.
Yes, the renewal for the permits on the outer islands is always on the December DLNR agenda. It's the first meeting of December, and the revocable permits I alluded to earlier, there's 13 of them. They're held by people like KIUC, Hawaii Island Water Company, a fellow on Kauai by the name of Lidner, who has the water tank on public land, leased land. But when we made our offer to help the state, and I felt that it would not be difficult to look at other states. Okay. It would not be, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. It would not be difficult for other states to share their mana'o, share their schedule of charging. In fact, one of our members is on Maui. He actually researched what kind of rates were charged by other states. And so we gave a rate schedule to Ian at the Department of Land and Natural Resources and said, this is some ideas. But they never took us up on our offer to meet with them and help get those 13 water permits into leases, which the law said they have to do within a year. And now they're over 30 years in some permits. A and B permits are as old as 30 years, still are not turned into leases. And that's really disgraceful. We have this huge Department of Land and Natural Resources, and we can't get 13 permits into leases. I do not understand that, except if you really don't want the revenue. If you really don't want the Crown lands to be productive, and you don't want to share with the people who own the Crown lands, the peoples of Hawaii, the Hawaiians, the Kamakakūokalani, then you just sort of sit on your thumbs and let everything roll along until they're all deceased. That could be part of the plan. I'm getting more cynical as I get older. But anyway, another question. So look for the first meeting of the Department of Land and Natural Resources, it's usually a Friday of December, the first or second Friday of December is when they meet to renew revocable permits on water. And that would be helpful for as many as can come and testify.
Yes, and if you don't show up in person, you certainly can send in a written testimony.
Yeah, they always receive testimonies.
Okay, we have another question here. Go ahead, Jocelyn.
Thank you so much for the good work that you do, both of you. I'm from Maui, and water is very contentious there. East Maui has been fighting such a long battle that a lot of the kupuna who started it are no longer here with us in body, but still with us in spirit. Something that I'm curious about that you asked, that you mentioned with the federal government about polluting the water.
Yes.
So our county, because of that road to Hana, controls the weeds with chemicals, and it's usually sprayed right next to the riversides. So would that also be a part of that type of the Clean Water Act? Yes.
It's what you have to do, and Surfrider has been a real good organization on Kauai. I don't know, I think they were also pretty active on Maui. You remember that case that just got decided in your favor, or in favor of the environment, by the US Supreme Court that said, if you put wastewater into the ground, right?
Right.
And that wastewater appears a mile out to sea, which Surfrider helped prove by putting a dye in the ground when it went into the ground, and the dye was found a mile out to sea. The US Supreme Court said direct or indirect pollution of the waters of the US are a violation of the Clean Water Act. And that was decided probably, I think, in the middle of 2020. The US Supreme Court decided that case for Maui, and against the county of Maui for their drainage. So I think if you can call Surfrider, ask them if they'll help you to test the water for the chemicals. You can also take water samples. They can give you the containers to get the water samples, and you can send them to the University of Hawaii lab in Hilo, or you can send them to a lab in the mainland, and you can get the water tested and find out what's in the water first to know you can prove contamination, and then yes, you'll have a case in Clean Water Act case.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, or anyone else want to share mana'o on water issues that are affecting your Ahupua? Okay, don't forget Ahupua. Find out the name of your Ahupua so you know where you come from. I also wanted to add that of all of the many hats that I've worn, I've also now recently, because of the truth of there was no treaty of annexation, and because of the power of the Ku'e petition to stop annexation, we thought that would be a good idea if we would try to carry through and follow in the footsteps of our kupuna of the Hui Aloha Aina Party, So I recently started a Women's Patriotic League on Kauai. It's called Hui Aloha Aina o Navahine o Vai Ale Ale. And I pull a leg. And doing the same things too, all the same kind of community issues. But knowing the power of a petition, we were thinking possibly that we could write a petition and have a congressional hearing on the way the state is managing our lands. You know what I mean? I don't think they know what's going on with the lands here. You know, about all the heva that's been going on, all the collusion and corruption of the agencies, the county and the city agencies, and how they're changing everything to their liking. So that is one of my hopes. And what do you guys think about that? If we can do a petition, get all the islands to sign a new petition to tell them go and check on our lands, a congressional hearing, because we want our lands back. We have them, they're there. We just can't control them, or we have no authority of our lands, and we want that back. By the way, we have Crown lands, we have Konohiki lands, we have Kuleana lands, we have royal patents, we have land court awards. All of those things are contained in records where you can go and research in the archives. So one of the reasons why we did the petition drive with the names of all the kupuna that signed was that we were trying to find descendants of the people that signed the Kue petition, so they would know their kupuna's name, and then they can go and find their lands. So that was the purpose. And yes, you have a question? Please come.
Yeah, with the 2029 leases from the military being up, you know, the leases for the military, the U.S. military, are up in 2029.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what she's saying.
I'm sorry, are you asking about Waialeale?
Take off your mask.
Yeah, take my mask off. With the leases being up in 2029 with the military,
For the military.
that, I mean, in terms of...
PMRF? You know, I did try to find their permit to see when it was expired,
That's
but I could not find it on PMRF.
Is this Pohakaloa or Waialeale?
all of the training grounds, from my understanding, Puakaloa, Makua, they're all up in 2029.
Good question.
yeah.
Good question, because I do know Kupuna Kuching and Auntie Maxine are in court about the expiration of the permits at Puhakuloa,
I think,
and even Makua. And there's another place in Waipio, I think, where Kupuna Akana had given some lands, and they used it for the war, and now they're supposed to give it back. But it's full of ordinances, and so that's another one. But the permits, that's a good question. If you can't find out their
That's what we're
expiration
working-
date, but check out on Facebook, or I don't know where you can find Kuching.
No, I
They
work-
have a case. You know about it.
yeah, I'm working with Kuching and with
Oh, you
Auntie
are?
Max and a number of people.
Okay, so what
And
was your question then?
Well, the question is, in terms of looking at that as part of the whole solution, because it's all, I'm just asking if you're looking at it like that.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
a land struggle
Yeah.
among
And-
all
and
others.
the military owns.
But the military
big
is
things.
the worst,
Yeah.
because they're killing the Aina
Yeah.
while they're on it, yeah?
Another $1 a year.
Okay,
know,
so
they say
you'd
the
like
dollar
to
a year
state
seems to be
that
it.
we should be doing something about the expiration of the leases? Yes? Okay.
Any other questions?
So,
Concerns? We'll be around anyway. I'll be sitting back there, Bridget and I.
Wait, there's,
Yes, Manila? Okay.
So just so that they know that we're listening to them online. So it says, government likes numbers. I like the idea of starting a petition. So they're saying they agree with a petition to be put out there. So that's what they're referring to. So they're in agreement. Yeah, they're in agreement with that idea of doing a petition.
Thank you. That's on the schedule for later today.
Okay,
In the solutions part, let's make this petition that we want to send up. Thank you. Well, I want to thank these two ladies. They've done an excellent job, and we've covered a lot of stuff about the water this morning. Thank you. Okay. Don't forget Bridget. Okay, we have somebody online who's ready to testify.
At this time, I have no one. No
Nope.
one signed up.
Okay, well, we have somebody here who would like to testify. This is the open testimony part. I'm so sorry that because of our technical difficulties, it has to be a shorter time.
Oh, you're blaming
And
us.
Would the gentleman, I don't even know your name, excuse me, would you like to come up? Okay. So, if you... Okay. So, if you wouldn't mind stating your name and where you come from.
My name is John Lopez Jr. I'm from Waianae. I am from the Manini Ohana up in Puea, Waianae Valley. And when you head to Ka'ala Farms on the right, there's a Ohana Heiau on the left side that was burglarized or desecrated during January this year. And I always made it a point to go up there, but then now that has happened, excuse my voice, now that has happened, I fear for the rest. I have some more Ohana ancestors up there that lying on the ground, but the main heiau was desecrated. The main heiau, there was 4 kupuna that was there, I believe since 1781, my great grandpa. And then my auntie, my dad's sister, she was interred on the top inside of a ceramic box in a koa, and that was all stolen. And I made a police report, and I had to talk to so much people at HPD, even the main office, and they just said they have to treat it as a misdemeanor because like we possess the land scrolls and stuff, but to say that that's our land, like ours, it really is from my grandmother, but being with taxes and all, they said that they can only treat it like a misdemeanor, and that kind of hurt me. So I'm just here to learn. I'm just an infant on this thing because I intend to be interred up there when I leave this earth. So I'm kind of making for myself. So I guess that's all. Thank you for you guys' attention.
Okay, I would like to ask you, what did the authorities, the departments that you reported to do for you?
A guy on white truck, BLNR, DLNR, they're all the same family. I look at them I don't, anything state, I'm sorry, this is just my own personal experience, but I look down on them because they just use us. They use us like just welcome mats and stuff.
How did they help you in this?
Nothing. The guy just came out and big young Kaneka, uncle, and I was like, yeah. And then the cops, I had to talk to them on the phone. They gave me numbers. They didn't want to stay up there in the hot Waianae sun.
So did they actually come and investigate?
They didn't. They just said they could treat it as a misdemeanor, and if I want to go further, I gotta look for lawyers, all that. I said, bro, they stole. I mean, I could take you up there and show you with your own naked eyes, and they didn't want to get their hands dirty. It's the way it is. We have to accept that. They ain't doing much.
Okay, wait. Do we agree? Do we have to accept that? Ole.
I don't want to.
Well, next year, when this man comes back, he's going to show us that he never accepted them.
I still don't. Until they get it right, I will not accept that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is a big problem if people are going in and purposely taking out our EV. And then the state will not do anything.
I actually do have a question for you. Do you have a picture of that box, perhaps? Hello, my uncle. Uncle! Guraki.
Come back up.
Anyway, for everybody else, you know, if you have a picture of something very unusual like her remains box, without having to explain where the location is, you can use social media to say, if you have seen this, this has my kupuna's EV in it and someone stole it. And sometimes you can get some, you know, there may be someone out there on social media say, hey, I saw that and it's on this internet set for sale and all that kind of stuff. So that's just what I was trying to get at. Ole, it's okay. My question was, if you have, you know, for the container you said that you're tutus, I'm just wondering if you have any pictures of some of those things. Okay, without giving away the location, you might want to try to utilize social media so everybody's looking for to see if that's ever for sale in the black market. And I don't know if you already did this.
I actually, in connection with the brothers was here, Kamakakūokalani, and my nephew is actually an educator. His name is Kelipio Adams for Nanakupono, Hawaiian. You know, he was like one of the first. They were called projects back in the 80s, and he was one of the first wave of Kanaka children when Chuda Anuinui Napuna Leo. Yeah, so he's now a teacher, and he got me into this thing because I was living in Germany for. May I sit? I joined the army when my dad died. I was in Germany for 21 years. I flew in Germany, but one thing that got on me, my in-laws and the Germans, how they treat their dead. They treat their dead like Jesus. And in our hearts, we treat our dead like I do. Anything Facebook like that, like my mother, my father, my grandma, my grandpa, me, I'm nothing without them. I'm nothing without Jesus and God, Akua. So that's how I walk my life. That's how I like to walk my life. You know, you can only, sometimes I feel they utilize our aloha in every nook and cranny of our kindness, and they're going to come between our toes and they're going to still backstab us. You know what I mean? And just, I'm sick and tired of that already. You just get you all mad, you know. So, I just wish that no happen for nobody else because I'm still going through the sadness. The guys who did it, I'm pretty sure it was landmongers because they're looking to put solar farms up there. And what I heard is my nephew's friends and grandnephews are drug addicts. And I look in the hole, it was brand new metal ladders. Drug addicts don't get by that kind of stuff. And the hose was perfect. I was an ex-radio man in the United States Army. They use MRI imaging equipment now. So they can look into the ground through an MRI. It's like a laptop. They fold it and they look through with goggles. And then they know exactly where to go, pinpoint, and take the, I think it was the kupunas way inside. And then my auntie, my dad's sister, she was the last one interred in 1987, 88. So they're all gone. But then we get some more family on the ground, but it's in the weeds. It's so big that they never know that. I know this. And that's like excuse me? Yeah, I'm sorry. I can go on and on. The more I talk, the more mad I'm gonna get. And in my heart, I also have a heart thing, so. Yeah, okay, but I just, I always pray to Akua to keep me mellow, keep me grounded, because they never do nothing to nobody. They've been lying there in a peaceful state since 1780. As the first, my great, I was 8th generation Manini. We come from Don Francisco de Paula Marin. And his remains, I had my sister then, the Twin Towers downtown. I come from that line, so. I was just sharing. I mean, I'm nothing. I just like everybody else. I try to be on humble connect, but sometimes get hard. So, but it is like that. Sad. I know better than anybody else here. But I love Hawaiians. I would die for this island. I would go and die for island. I would. In fact, I'm so mad about, I don't use Hawaii anymore. I say my grandma Aina. Because they so tarnish the word Hawaii. They tarnish them, they pee on them, they said so much bad things. When you say the word Hawaii, the Hawaii, you know, the E, the pono E, the more I, you're showing your feeling for your love. The more I's you put after pono E, Hawaii, pono E. I learned this from my grandma. Now, I don't like to say that because you say that and you look, look at the car, look at the traffic. Guys coming from South Carolina, they're telling me, get out of line. And they're looking at me, I'll leak this baga, you know what I mean? No, I mean, you know what I mean? So I'd say, Malo, but we not that easy being on Kanaka, I mean, well, no, Ivi-san, hard, really hard. So I'm sorry.
No, thank you for,
I just brought it in.
we get the kind.
Thank you.
There's a testifier on Zoom. Just say there's a testifier on Zoom.
On June?
On Zoom.
Oh, what did I say?
There's a testifier on Zoom.
So at this point,
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. But at this point, so we want to give enough time. So we set up time for people to testify. So we have them from, at this time we're going to do from 10 to 11, or we're going to see, at least give people 45 minutes right now. If anybody here like to testify, we already had that already. But we have, I think, one that's coming from online. But if there's anybody else, so please, if you guys can call my, just stick to at least 4 minutes so that we give everybody an equal chance. Yeah, and if you guys want to talk to them, have questions for the testifiers, they can talk to you after the testimony. Okay? Mahalo. So you want to, she's still trying to hook them up. So you can go testify if you like. And yeah, those that testify, please sign in your name on the testimony, please.
Okay. Aloha, my name's Mia Lisa Otis. I just wanted to get up here real quick because at 10 o'clock, pretty soon, SHPD is having their meeting. And it's about the joint burial treatment plan for Iwi Kupuna encountered during the Kawaiʻahao Church multi-purpose use building renovation. So the meeting's happening pretty soon. And the discussion is and determination on whether to preserve in place or relocate human skeletal remains at the above location. Recommendation to the State Historic Preservation Division whether to accept or not accept the above draft joint burial treatment plan. So a lot of these meetings goes like right under us. So that's why we always have to keep watch. And just after that, there's a cultural descendancy recognition for Uncle Mike Hikalea for Wailupe burial caves. Beyond that, since we have the Department of Interior listening in, I have a little testimony, and I wanted to know, how do we get burial caves federally recognized? Is the National Register of Historical Places a good avenue to start? We have burials from 800 AD in Hunananihu, Waimanalo that are federally protected on the National Register of Historical Places, and they were still desecrated. Most recently, we have Wailupe infant burial caves being excavated and Koloa being dynamited. How do we permanently secure these spaces from development? And I'd like a response from the Department of Interior at some point today. Mahalo.
Kaniloa?
Check. So we have, so online, they're asking, and this is the person that's on here as owner. The question that is being asked is if there is any way for those that are in charge of the various mokus, so those from the different islands, this person wants to know if they can get your contact information. So the person that's asking online, you're gonna have to give us your personal information, and then we will try to get it to those that are from the different mokus if they want to share. So please You can either go to our Malama Kakanilua page and give us your information. Otherwise, I don't have anyone else online. Anyone in here would like to sit? Go ahead.
Anella, who's on the list? Mikhail?
Yeah, because here.
And Nakai. Sure.
Mahalo nui e Kaniloa for asking that or mentioning that, because I do have one question. Is there a direct number to Suzanne Case, the head, the top person who can decide everything? So the head of the BLNR does not have a direct number. So I've heard from people speaking to them about, you gotta call, you gotta go higher up, and I called. The switchboard lady doesn't know, operator doesn't know her number. I spoke to the other person that they had to call me back. I think it was Brad, and maybe was he DLNR from Kauai? And I said, are you Jason Radula? No, Brad. And so they don't even have a number. So how is it that the person who decides everything for all Mokupuni, we can't get in touch with her, and she will never call back. The message, you'll never get in touch with her directly. So what is the direct number to or for Suzanne Case so that we can contact her directly? Because apparently people who have contact by email do not get a response back. There's no way to make a meeting with her for in person. So what is her direct contact number?
Asking for transparency from our department. Oh, so we have Nakai here. Nakai, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Aloha mai kākou o nā kai e lua Vilatora ko Iune no ko Mokupuni o Kauai mai au. He wahine maoli a he kanaka maoli e pū a he kama o io. Aloha, my name is Nakai Lua Vilatora. I'm from the island of Kauai, a wahine maoli, a kanaka maoli, and a child of God. So for today, my testimony, I just wanted to note that this is public notice to our officials in the Department of Interior that I, as a Kanaka Maoli, demand that we get an investigation of all executives of departments from the state all the way to the counties, starting with our executive in the state of Hawaii, Governor Ige, also the chairperson, Suzanne Case, for the DLNR, Alan Downer of SHPD, and then all of the smaller executives or directors of the local branches. For Kauai, Kalamai, this is Kapeka. For the county, our Mayor Derek Kawakami, and our Planning Commission, the Kauai County Planning Commission, for their continued approval of permits that lead to desecration of our iwi kupuna and the depletion of our natural resources here in Hawaii. For my testimony, Kalamai. For my testimony, I've witnessed a few of the neglect of our officials that represent Hawaii, taking the opportunity to utilize their personal interests and their personal benefit to agree to development and the diversion of our natural resources of water so that they can continue to profit off of the back of our aina and our iwi kupuna and also our future generations. So I would like to take account that this is a public notice to our officials, to the department, that we demand as Poe Kanaka, as Kanaka Maoli, that we need these executives to be investigated. And if we have to have, Kalamai, have to have a, would you like to talk? If we need to have a legal petition to be signed to get these executives investigated, then we will do so. Mahalo nui for your time.
So just to let you guys know, part of the schedule, so those like brother over here that had issues about the lands, so we are having someone come on to speak. Many of you might know him. His name is Kamakakūokalani. So he has a process that he goes through which actually works. So if you don't know who Moku is actually one of the recognized chiefs, yeah, in the islands. He resides on Maui. He is in the Moku of Lahaina. He is Land Commission heir to Kaulana. So if you follow Kaulana, you're going to follow the water thing going on there as well as the land. So Moku has taken those that have Land Commission awards in Lahaina and has gotten them back to their properties. Of course, that's not without hakaka, but they are possessing their properties. He is having an issue with water that they're working on. It's way different than my process of what I do. But their Lahaina is doing very well as far as the Land Commission awards and all the property. So if you guys stick around, he is scheduled to be here at about 11 o'clock, I believe. So he's going to be one of our main speakers today. But, so the testimonies that you guys give, so we are asking everybody to sign your name for the testimony list, because these are some of the things that we're going to send to people, send to the DOI as records. Yeah, so everything is not only going to be we're just talking among ourselves. We have things recorded. We have things having actually teams, people from the continent are watching. You guys saw that we had a representative from the government yesterday. So it's going to get to the ears. So, even if you have just something simple to say, right, especially against SHPD. So we have to understand who these people are. SHPD is different here in Hawaii than it is in the continental United States. In the continental United States, SHPD is actually directly under the federal government. Am I correct? Okay. Here, no. This is we're talking about America. So they are under the federal guys over there. So that's why they can deal directly to the feds when it comes to SHPD. Also, so over here, SHPD, and this is where our stuff come in when we talked about the relationship. So if you realize that the federal government does not have any land patents in Hawaii, okay, there are no registered land patents. They have no land. The only land that the United States has is on the aircraft carrier that's parked in. And this is true because you guys know, when the president gets elected, they have that big inaugural celebration, right? Here in Hawaii, that happens with the Admiral of the Pacific. You guys have to understand his role. So the Admiral of the Pacific is the federal man here in Hawaii. And that's because we are under military occupation. Okay, so when you go to the courts and you look at the flags that they fly, they get military tassels. Because it's a military court, it's a maritime court. Okay? So all these things come into play. And just to kind of verify what we're saying, that the federal government doesn't have any power here. And because if you look at their statutes or how the federal government of the United States is, they cannot go beyond their borders. So what they did was they gave the authority of the Kanaka to the state of Hawaii, right? The state of Hawaii now is that governing body. So we actually should be dealing with the Department of the State Department, because they deal with foreign affairs. But what they did was change us from the State Department to the Department of Interior. The way that they did that was that they claimed that the mesquite or the keawe was an endangered species and needed to be protected. This is This is all in their discussions. And so that's why they changed us over to the Department of Interior. But it comes down to the state. They cannot cross their borders, so the state is in charge. Okay? So the lieutenant governor is actually the secretary of the state. He's the one we should be dealing with. Okay? He's in charge of the foreign affairs in the state of Hawaii. But, so with what happens with SHPD, they're under the state. We're the only ones that SHPO or SHPD is state affiliated. See what I mean? And so this is the problem. You have to understand, the state cannot be prejudiced. Okay? That means they have to respect all religions, all races. Okay? That's why when they talk about Native Hawaiians, in the law they have to protect all people in Hawaii, whether you Kanaka or non-Kanaka. Okay, that's where we stay right now. Right? So that's the problem we're having. So we have to understand the relationship between us and the state and SHPD. But SHPD is still held because they get federal funding. Okay? So you have to go after that federal funding. So the 1860 law that I talked to you guys about, that 1860 law, make yourself knowledgeable on that law. Because I went on 106 process meeting, I went to a class, and I told the guy from the federal government, so if there's any money that is spent anywhere for any project, and they come across EV and I present this law, does a 106 apply? He says yes. Yeah? Because it's a law. Okay? You guys gotta know your kanawai. If you don't know your kanawai, you lose power. You gotta know the kanawai. And I'm not talking about HRSs. I'm not talking about state law. I'm talking about kumu kanawai, starting from 1839. Till today, it still applies. And I can prove that to you if you want to. But, sorry, I went a little longer than I wanted to. But, yeah, that's what it is. So, is there anyone else in the room that would like, what I'm trying to do is, if you testify, that's okay, testify again. Because these numbers going to go in. Yeah? So the more people that testify, the more we put on the list. Yeah? We don't like dishonest and say, oh, 100 people came, 100 people and testify. You know, so, okay. So we do have one online. Okay, hold on. So, is that on Zoom? Yeah. Okay, you're going to have to, you're the Zoom host, you're going to have to bring that person on. Someone online? Yeah. So you're going to have to unmute them and take off their camera. You have to allow them their camera and their microphone. It should be next to their name. Can you hear us?
Okay, we have a testifier in person. Anela will be coming up with her, our receptionist for today. And I'll let you introduce yourselves, say where you came from.
Aloha, ona la koinoa no makahamayau.
Hello, my name's Louisa Kiawe. I'm from Waimanalo.
Sorry, my auntie, sit. Aloha, so auntie knows of Evie. So to speak for my auntie knows of Evie in her area and has told me of niho, which are bones and teeth that have come up of the Evie kupuna, of keiki, several keiki. Roslyn, I hope you're listening because I need to talk to you after. Doesn't know what to do about the keiki, but she was able to push them back in and she put into the sands where she stay and put them at rest. She did a lot of the things that were said here as far as protection of the Evie, what were discussed over the past 2 days, and was able to put the Evie to rest. So what we're bringing before the DOI, SHPD, DHHL, and all of you Evie protectors is whatever comes of this conference, whatever huis get put together for Evie protection, can someone please use me as a point of contact? My Facebook is Inez Zoila Larson. My phone number is 808-778-0271. My email is inezzl, INEZZL @hawaii.edu. Can you please call me or keep me in the mix for Auntie? I will contact Auntie in Waimanalo. She has an issue with road work that's happening in Waimanalo. She doesn't know how big the burial area is of these keiki, and she wants an assessment of the area since she already knows that there's several keiki burials in the area. They're redoing the road, and she's concerned that the Evie is not being acknowledged in the area and that it may be disrupted by the road work. So, you know, she herself would like to make her own hui of Evie protectors, right? And she wants to know, like, what is DOI going to do? What is coming of this? Who do we call? Do we call DHHL today? Do we call SHPD today? Who are we supposed to call today? After all of this and listening to all of this, who can we call today to say, hey, get one keiki over here? They're destroying the road over, they're fixing the road over there. Get Evie underneath or what? And how can we acknowledge the Evie, not disrupt them and fix them? Aye, Auntie.
Aye.
Anything else you want to say?
Mahalo kia kua for this EB conference and all these wonderful connects. Put it together and allow us to come forward to share and open up the truth, yeah. So presently where I'm living, I'm truly blessed and thankful. But that's not the issue. It's the issue with the DOI, wherever it is involved, that's ignoring our EVs all over the island, wherever they may be. Presently, yes, I'm living among them. I'm peacefully right now and protected by them. And the keikis has shown itself by its iho, its teeth. Now you can be, standing, walking, but how did they just show up? Right from under the sand, one day I was cleaning my errand and it just showed up and I jumped, and I was like, oh, okay, so now what do I do next, Not shocked, just like, oh, wow. So I did bury this infant teeth right where it showed itself. Because if that's where they want to be, they want to let us see them, then so be it, let's return them. But presently, I just been caring for them, watering them, They love water. And also, too, I also give them their eye. As well, as we so eat, the spirit eats too. And right now, my neighbors, they don't know very much about this, only because it's not time for them to know, for me to share with them. But I'm truly thankful to be here during these past 2 days to learn more about how to be able to protect this EB that's presently where I live. And especially there's an anake. It's where my tent is right in front of it. And she very well always come to the table with me and mea eye with me. So that's how I'm learning that they are there. But so I also want to mahalo Anela.
He mea li'i Auntie. I love you, Auntie. I love all of you guys. We all love each other. Yeah, we're gonna malama each other and get through this. We're gonna hui up, yeah? Aloha.
Aloha kako. My name is Deborah Lee, Puanani Kaili by Ray, and I did a testimonial on Monday. I am from Honolulu, Mokupuni o Hawaii. My ohana is from the Ahupua of Na Pua. It encompasses Puanahulu and Pu'uva'ava'a. I am the granddaughter of Nelson Kaula Vailani Ha'o. Both his maternal and paternal grandparents were from this area. They are of the Kahai Keawe, Hawaii, Ha'o, Kamaka, and Ka'ai ohana. I've been involved, and this is a message to DOI, I've been involved in this for over 29 years, protecting, my kuleana is to protect our iwi kupuna. It was what my grandfather did, and is what I continue to do. I want to add the staff members, like Kai, Markel, Kanai, Kapeliela, Mark Smith. They were staff members that came out to help me document and do the best I could with the failed system, the systemic problems that was already in place, like Kai had shared. It's been ongoing. It's 29 years. I had 3 young children, and I was pregnant with my youngest son, and I'm still dealing with it. I just wanted to share this to have it on record. Currently, this is my time frame from 1992 to March 18, 2009, when I finally got a lineal descendancy recognition. This is how long I waited. And then from 2009 to 2022, 4 sites have been desecrated. 17 recorded sites according to the burial treatment plan, but there's more burial sites here. There's burial caves in Pu'uva'ava'a. There's other things here that need attention. There's 2 cemeteries, family cemeteries at 2 former church sites. One was a Mormon church, and the other is a Kalawina church, a Hawaiian church that is currently owned by the United Church of Christ or Hawaii Conference Foundation. So I wanted to record this and have DOI investigate exactly how others have presented and investigate the government that's being the illegal government here, the state of Hawaii, and all their polluted people. I work for the government, so I understand how. I worked for 8 years for a county council, former county council person. I saw how it worked. So this is my testimonial, and there's more things that I could share, but at this time, I am a graduate of Kamehameha. I did see some of those sexual predatory actions going on with teachers. I see that. So I'm just wanting to document and be sure that I can provide this. And I appreciate the platform that we're able to do this, that I can do this from my home, because there's no way that I could fly to Oahu and sacrifice 3 days, but I'm trying to tune in and give my mana'o and my testimonial, because there needs to be an investigation. But mahalo for letting me do this, and mahalo to all of those who put this on. I appreciate all the hard work and everybody's mana'o. Mahalo nui, ahui ho.
Okay, Tita, you're on. You're on, Tita.
Okay. Can you folks hear me well enough?
Okay, try again.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you folks hear me?
Hello? Hello. Okay, try.
Hello?
Yes, can hear.
Okay, perfect. Well, I just wanted to, first of all, talk about the water and all those that they were talking about. I really just want to kind of go over how the hotels, especially on Hawaii Island, on Big Island, how like Manalani, they have all those local ia right in front of their resorts, and they're not being used. I know that from my personal volunteer work that Kiho, through them and their project, that they've been trying to allow cultural practitioners access to get in there and kind of clean it up and start using it. When I was young, I know that it was in full effect because we would take field trips when I was in 4th and 5th grade, but now we see it and they're all just kind of closed off. Not only that, I come from a fisherman family. We've been fishing from Kauai all the way down to Keaho, and we really see the lack of limu over the years, the lack of honus in these areas, because we know that the honu, they swim and they live in these clean waters, and by not seeing them is kind of a sign to us, oh, these waters are not clear. Also, all of the hotels with these huge golf courses allowing all that runoff, all that pollution to go straight into our waters. For me, I just really want to know how we can, they're saying we can get samples of this water and test it, how that process is, how that even works, right? And how we can get confirmation of these things, because it's sad to see. My tutor lady, she used to go with all of her sisters and they used to pick so much limu all in Ali'i Drive, and now all of that's closed. If you go to the Sheraton down there, there's actually a haleva'a where they used to keep all their va'as, and it's totally dismantled, totally run over, and you look just 5 feet over and the whole hotel grounds is beautiful and nice. So we as Kanaka, how do we ensure that these areas are safe? We know that where the Sheraton sits was a huge fishing village, and there's even puhakus there that have plaques that kind of talk about these points. And you know, if you're local and you want to go holo holo, you want to throw a pole over there, the securities, they come out and they kind of are like, oh no, you cannot do this over here, you got to go somewhere else. But it's hard because of course those are our cultural traditional lands. That's really all I really, oh, and I also wanted to talk about Puhokala Heiau down there in what they call LSD now, how all that, there's a huge marsh area, and I don't know if people are aware of this, but all that runoff, especially when it rains, it goes right into that marsh that really just murkies up and muddies up all that area where the mano are spawning. Just stuff like that to be proactive about and to protect. I'm sure there's lots of this on other islands, but we know that our fish, our native fish, they are like salmon. When they spawn, they have to go upstream, and with most of our waters being depleted, most of our awai is not even really in effect, we're losing like large numbers of our food sources. Mahalo.
And Etita, can you identify yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Kiara Lorenzo Rodriguez. I'm from the island of Hawaii. Yes, I'm from the Big Island. Ku'avava, Vaipio, Ku'umauna, Mauna Awa Kea, Ku'uvai, Kauai Hai, and Ku'uvai Lele, Ninawe, or Nineve. Mahalo.
Mahalo. They were filming. Did you have any questions? Did you have any questions? Did you have any questions that you needed to answer?
I was just having questions for those two aunties that were kind of very aware of the water rights and those pollution, those things we can do for pollution and such.
Hi, what is your question? This is Auntie Nani Rogers, Kauai. Aloha, nice to meet you. Hi. Nina oi.
Yes. So my question to you folks is, how do we as practitioners, especially as just fisherman family, when we see these decreases in our i'a and stuff like that, what can we do, especially when we're out on the boat and we're seeing all this kind of pollution kind of come straight out of these hotels, right?
Right.
What can we do?
Yeah, that's my ka'i, yeah. it's good that we talk about the ocean as well, not just the Vaia. And there is pollution from resorts that are built along the coastlines where they use fertilizer on their golf courses and stuff like that. And that does seep into our ocean in Wainiha. And we've had problems with the coral being desecrated and everything. So that was a good point about the pollution. Be careful. Yeah, it happens, and especially around resorts. Yeah, that's because they always build on the coastline, and that's where the water goes into the ocean, the pollution. Okay, mahalo.
So we don't have online testimony? Anyone else signed up to testify here today? We have a winner.
Yeah. Aloha, my name is Paula Chandler. I'm from Wainiha of Kauai. I come from a family of 16. We have our own lo'i in Wainiha. We have a little bit trouble with our water rights too. But this year we kind of had we're almost done with our water rights for up in Wainiha Powerhouse Road. And then we have some little bit issues with our ocean for access to get to our beaches so we can go and fish. And now the people let us go in, the owners of the place. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Mahalo.
Okay.
Anyone else would like to testify? I'll get to you right after this one, Pali.
Sorry, I'm trying to hog the mic, you know what I mean? But also another issue here on Oahu is Sunset Memorial Park in Pro City. I get choked on over there, my father. It's actually how my undertaking started. I came back from Germany. My nephew go, oh, the thing is dilapidated in Pro City, you know, where it's in Mānoa Home Road. You go on the outside in the back. Oh, homeless live on the graves. They broke the headstones. So my dad is over there with my grandmother, my manini. So my nephew go, oh, that's how my journey started, actually. Me and my girlfriend used to go, okay, we'll go do this, we'll exhume them. And then that's how I met Kai Markel. I met all these guys. I had to go to Oha. And then so throughout all that thing, we would go back again, Denokatawi's, get Big Puka, my grandpa Akau on the other side, and my grandma Yokia on this side of the street. I get choked family, my manini side, that side, and my mom's side, and the Big Puka look like somebody even go take out the casket. And so dangerous. If you know, look, you fall back, you can get hurt. But Memorial Day, we went over there. I never catch the day I'm going to be saying this, but not worth it going there. I mean, that's my pupuna, you know what I mean? But I go there, I cry before I even get out of the car. You know what I mean? They got to go through the anguish. They will live through when they was alive. They will get dragged through the mud. And then I put myself, that's the maybe one gift I get. I put myself in them. I cry for days. I get hana bala, I don't care. You know, this shouldn't be happening to us. It really shouldn't. They take you all the Indian guys, or they take you on casinos. You know, in my days in the army, I travel around the United States. And what we get? Well, bubble gum and baseball card. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I don't like Garand, but that's what I wanted to bring up was the graveyard in Pro City. I mean, there's a lot of misforgivings going on over there. And we should be ma'atu. Pretty much, We should be mad to everything happening around us. Like me, touch me, anything going bad, I jump, boom, I snap. You know, because the day I leave this earth is when they're not going to hear from me and you're not going to hear righteousness' sake. No more porno. Everything is peeled out dirty. I mean, I'm sorry, that's how they run in the state right now. Okay, God bless all you guys. Thank you.
I know, only in Hawaii we get buried twice, yeah? Sometimes 3 times. Thank you.
Our water problem on the Big Island is that the resorts that they develop on the west side of the Big Island, they drill 100 wells, Mauka, so that they can do the golf course watering, all the condominiums. But what they did was they sucked all the water before he reached to the papa in the ocean. And the fresh and the salt make good limu. So now the whole place, no more limu because no more water, fresh water. It's all doing the golf courses and the condominiums. So nobody's paying attention because there's no record of how many gallons they use or anything. It's their own private wells. But when they come down and do the survey and said, you know what, Hawaiians, you cannot come over here fish because our survey said no more fish. But they don't say why no more fish, right? And it's because there's no record of how many resorts get on private wells. How much water they suck. But when they come down, so that's the problem we have with resorts, that they take in water that's part of an ecosystem that not can be completed. A lot of us on a Big Island, especially my family, we get puna wai. We no more running water. Hey, Big Island, the only place get running river is Hilo, Waipiosai, along the Hamakua coast. The rest of 200 miles around, no more river. It's all dry. All our water go underground and come out to the ocean. And in our yard, we had about 4 puna wais. One is for us to drink, and the other rest for garden and animals. Because we don't have pipe water or rivers. So we live off the puna wai. And when the high tide comes, push the fresh water back, the puna wai fill up, then we gotta pack water for wash clothes, every day. Before I go to school, if high tide, I gotta go fill up all the tubs and everything before I can go to school. The puna wai is important, but when they resorts start sucking the water before get to the papa, then we no more fish, we no more limo. We really not can live in our puna wai because no more water. So that's a whole different point of listening to pollution and no idea how much they're stealing, but that whole part is how it's ruining the ecosystem and taking away our way of life. And then they say, you know, can fish because we let the fish come back. Like, we're the problem, no more fish. And how many Hawaiian families get fishermen? Now 1 left, maybe. The rest all working construction or working. They don't have time for go fishing. So the one person in the family responsible for baby luau, funeral, we gotta go get them, phone call. Go get us our cow. So we cannot depend anymore on these resources. So the problem is, I think the state should stop giving permits to these resorts and sucking all the water out before we get to the papa, so we don't get all that. I just wanted to say that part. Maybe we never thought of it, but on a Big Island, that's a happening. So if you come to your place, watch them, no suck them way up, because they'll get to there, no more ia and no more limu. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Keep going.
Go ahead. You're suffering. Go ahead.
And you gotta know that anything is out of papa on the coastline is Corps of Engineers. Anything in a river is Corps of Engineers. So if anybody hana eat, go check if they get Corps of Engineers permit. That should make some difference.
I think. Oh. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. You can borrow it.
Yeah.
Okay, we go.
See the square on it. I think they give that data. I get one more for testify. Okay, here. Here, microphone, brother.
I'll sit by you. Come on. Wait, we can go? Yeah, you're
You're going out.
No, I is. We're gonna be for moral support.
I think I read Rebecca.
Okay, you see we're gonna read
No,
it.
you're gonna.
Okay,
Oh, I'll
fine.
read it, but
Yeah.
I'm looking straight down to the paper.
Okay, yeah.
Hello, my name is Noah Kaulana Cummings, in care of Mānoa Cummings, from the island of Kauai. I am 10 years old, and I wish to have a clean future with not a lot of development because I don't want Kauai to look like Oahu. No offense. I have a gift of speaking to kupuna, and I can feel how much they hurt. For example, when they, the developers, crush their bones, the limb they crush hurts for me. I would like the leaders to step forward for the development and pollution, not only on Kauai, but all of the islands. For my future and future generations, I would like my generation to speak out for the future. No more desecration. Mahalo.
I was just asked, does anyone have a question for that last testifier? I think it deserves some questions. Thank you so much for that testifying. Yes.
Noah, when our kupuna speak to you or you can feel them, I just want to know, how does that usually happen for you? Whoops. How does that happen for you? And is it like a natural thing or is it something that is unusual to you?
It feels natural, but it should be unusual. Like, it shouldn't happen as much. Yeah.
So it's natural for you, but you think that maybe it should be something that's not natural. I think that you should stick to your guns because I think it should be natural, especially for you. I mean, thank you for doing that. And you have assisted sometimes with the kupuna? You've helped with when the kupuna communicate with you, you've helped to, can you think of one time that happened? Not really? You didn't help your mama? You warn her? Okay, I think I'm putting him on the spot. Thank you so much, Noah. This is a very heavy question. We're going to give him a moment because I think this is our past and our future is going back to how we were, being able to have this every bit a part of our lives. And so it's not unusual for us to be able to communicate with our kupuna. And I have to say that I have received some looks and even testimony about just this thing, because sometimes we know, right? We know our kupuna, and sometimes they come to us, and to be judged by another system of government is really a'ole pono. We are who we are, and I think that it is not only a blessing, but it makes us more powerful people. Hey, she's going. Okay. We have someone else online. Okay. We have somebody else online.
Aloha mai kako. Can you hear me? Sorry, I don't know how to take off the camera. I was trying to look for it. Anywho, aloha mai kako. O Kaulana Na Pua. I'm a resident on Oahu. Kalamai, I don't know how to show my picture. I am just thankful for the opportunity to be able to speak today. And I come with my kupuna in tow. Our ohana has recently returned to our Kaulana lands under Royal Patent 4490. We have been holding space out in Eva. And we have been challenged by many of obstacles and has recently lost water. Kalamai. In challenging the TMK, standing on our Royal Patent and affidavit in hand as lineal descendants of Royal Patent 4490 Land Commission Award 10474, the TMK holder has disconnected the water source, and we are unable to get any assistance from Board of Water. We've made a request to come and inquire to put in a water meter. We have no water. Old maps show there was once water in a Kaha stream, and that water has since been diverted. My daughter, her 3 children, my Kane, and a few who have been able to anchor and hold space in Hawaii have been recently made targeted through a recent article in Civil Beat. We come with nothing but aloha into Malama Aina and to open space for other lineal descendants and Kanaka who needs Aina to return to. Unfortunately, without water, all their plants are dying. The kalo that sustains them. So they need to leave and go to a beach to get water with a 1-year-old in tow and 2 other children, and making sure somebody is on the Aina so that it doesn't get repossessed. We've been threatened. Recently this week, we're in the midst of a writ of possession and a summary judgment. And we're currently waiting for a non-hearing decision in the courts. However, I guess my kahea or my question would be if anybody has any understandings on what we can do to help return the water flow to our Aina. There is absolutely none. It's been diverted, and we cannot even find out where it's going. And we have nothing to drill. There's a pond that is owned by the Robinsons, which is not accurate because as the Royal Patent lineal heirs, as successor in interest, that pond belongs to our ohana and any heirs returning home. So if there's any direction for our ohana, I will put my email in the chat. And I'm very much open for any kokua and any other kia'i on Oahu, because we are currently told that they will be sending in goons to harass my daughter, to force them to leave. So this is a little desperate plea for help with water, but just to help get the word out that we're very much Pono people. We have not stolen, as it is being portrayed in the media right now. And we are returning to our rights of our grandfather. That does inure to us under HRS 172-11, that we are forcing them to adhere and be pursuant as our rights as Native tenants and kanako iwi. So mahalo for the opportunity to put my kahea out there. I greatly appreciate all of your time. Mahalo ya oko, me ke aloha nui, me ke aloha pauole. Mahalo, mahalo, mahalo.
Would you mind saying really clearly what your name is and how someone might contact you?
Kamakakūokalani. My email is kahakukahuna@gmail. My phone number is 808-453-0086. We just need help in getting water to this family. In any direction, any affidavits I need to write, I'm very much able. We're standing on our affidavit as lineal tie to these lands. So we're currently in court and we just won. May 31st, we won a dismissal in district court. The judge dismissed their claims. We're currently in circuit court. We're in circuit court right now. And we're in the midst of a writ of possession. So again, my phone number is 808-453-0086. And my email is kahakukahuna@gmail.com. Mahalo.
Mahalo for that. We stand with you. The next person to testify?
Can you put your information on the chat? That'll be easier for us to
Is it
disseminate.
Keone? Sorry. Keone DeFranco?
Aloha mai kako. My name is Keone DeFranco, and I live in Waimanalo. I gave a testimonial on Monday, and what's unbelievable is I sit here today, living in Waimanalo, and I hear about another Iwi Kupuna burial site being desecrated right down the road from me. This is keiki. So at this point, I think what we need to talk about is Barack Obama. You know, Barack Obama just built a house in Waimanalo, and multiple Iwi Kupuna were pulled out of the ground for a swimming pool. We're talking keiki. Keiki, 2 different children pulled out of the ground 100 feet from each other in the same neighborhood within the last year. What the hell is going on here? This is unbelievable. When the former commander-in-chief, who says he's born and raised here, is desecrating our Iwi Kupuna, what are we as people to believe in? This fake state? You do not represent us. You know, we are the generation that says, "Aole, this is done. We're not accepting this anymore." You know, we're here in Oahu where the Department of Defense is poisoning our water system today, you know. Red Hill is leaking petroleum every single day. This facility has had 3 major spills, over 33,000 gallons of petroleum spilled into the water supply in the last 12 months. You know, June 30th is the date that the Navy is required to submit a plan of defueling. Whether or not they submit one, this has gone on too long. You know, the first bill was not even presented to the public in May of last year. You know, it was 100% verified by the Navy that there was poison in the water as early as June of 2021, and they said nothing until after November. There was a spill on November 20th. They said nothing until after Thanksgiving, when service members sat down with their families and had Thanksgiving dinner, and thousands of people ended up in the hospital from petroleum poisoning. jet fuel in their water supply. This is our vai. This is not your water. This is our vai. We have been here from time immemorial. This is our aina. This is our kingdom. This is our lands. You are visitors here. You were never invited here. So we're not asking for your help. We are telling you, get out of here. You ask us to conserve our water by 10% because of what you've done to our water supply. We say immediately remove 10% of your troops off of our shores. Now, get out of here. Get out of here. What you are doing is poisoning us. You know, we've taken too much for too long. And we're saying, get out of here. We're gonna push you out of here. If we have to pull you out of your fucking machines, you're gone. You are out of here, Aole. I was in Kauai, Kololo last week, and we pulled you out of the machines, and we said, get away from our burial sites, because no more. Where we draw the line is our water. Where we draw the line is our burial sites. This is not your land. You are visitors here, and you have overstayed your welcome. Goodbye.
Aloha mai kakao. My name is Ruth Koule. This is small, but I just wanted to, this is something I hadn't thought about, but jump on the back. My great-grandmother is also buried at Sunset Memorial Park in Pearl Ridge, or Pearl City. And so this is a woman who signed the Kauai petition when she was 20 years old. That was a very proud moment for me to find her name there, and my great-grandfather's. And then that is a cemetery that you feel a little bit dangerous to go over there now. And so this is the first time I've really put together just the idea that those are her iwi there, and that they are not buried all around, but just that I hope that there'll be some way also to protect those and to think of something. And I just wanted to support what he said, though, about the park there and to acknowledge her. So thank you. Mahalo.
Kalama, I didn't know there was another list. So if I miss you, it wasn't personal. Let me get to that list. So there is another list. Oh, come nobody say anything. I did. Okay. Whoever signed up and I didn't come to you, who did I miss that signed on this list? Oh, we gotta wait till tomorrow. Nah. No, it's good. Oh, okay. Kalama, yeah. Yeah, you can just only 4 minutes.
Hey, aloha mai kako, e nā hoa aina, nā hoa velolike, e nā kupuna. Mahalo again for having our hui here, hui ala kupuna, to visit with you folks on Oahu Alua o Kakuhi Hewa. We will be returning back to Moku Okeawe shortly, so I just want to share a little bit of mana'o gathered from this session and from all of our hoa during this awesome last couple of days. We came a little late this morning. We took time to go and visit our kupuna right there in the mound next to the Marriott, because we were staying over there. So we went there this morning to be with them and have some morning time ava. So mahalo. So I wanted to just kind of backtrack and share a little bit more with you guys about who I am. You know, we didn't really go into that the other day, but so for myself, I come from a line of Mahiai Kalo in Waipio Valley. So we continue that practice there within our family. I'm also a hula olapa of the Aiha'a form.
on Moku Keawe. And I am studying in the institution, and I'm proud of that. And I'm proud of that because, and I'm gonna tell you guys why, that was my tutu's dream for me. My tutu was our family genealogist for Waipio. She constructed all of our family genealogy, which many of our cousins in the Pai'aina use. They use our website frequently, which is keko'olani.org, to help themselves find their genealogical connection. It is because of her I can stand firmly on any Mokupuni that I go, because I know who is my kupuna over there. Because of her instructions to go to school, to continue, to do the research, to protect Waipio, to understand our family connections. That's how come I ended up going into archaeology. A love to protect our cultural sites, our wahiala'a, to protect them, to understand them, and to in turn return them to function and use and purpose for our ohana. It has not been an easy process by any means, but you know, we do it because of the love and the aloha. Okay, so I wanted to just touch a little bit on some of the issues with the Section 106 and 6E process. I didn't really hear that come up in the last couple of days. And that's what triggers all of these inventory assessments, these AIS archaeology reports, right? Is because we have Section 106 historic preservation law at the federal level, and that is then represented by Chapter 6E, historic preservation law at the state level. You know, and these processes are meant to protect historic and culturally significant properties. The problems with these kanawai that have come in is, you know, it's kind of hard. It's a double-edged sword, because prior to that, we had no protections. There was absolutely no protections. So in the earlier phases of development for all of our resort coastlines, there was no protections for any of our sites. So anybody that had the money could come in, bulldoze the whole frickin' area, move everybody around, and do whatever they want to. So now that we have those protections, that's a step in the right direction, but also highly flawed. It's highly flawed. There is some serious issues going on in there. And I think understanding the process at every step of the way is critical, because if you don't know, then you really don't know. So some of the issues I wanted to talk about was, number one, the lack of self-determination in the inclusion of the cultural significance determination. So in these reports, the cultural resource firms that assign these significance, they really have no ike kupuna, they have no pilina to the place to define what is culturally significant. That's number one. Somebody coming into a space that is haole, foreign to the air of that aina, cannot interpret or even see properly what is there. That is a big issue. We are allowing someone else to determine cultural significance to us that has no business doing so. They have no training, only through a Western science. This bias continues to be seen in the structure of the contract for hire through the cultural resource firms that are hired through the bureaucratic process. There is no regulations on how that is assigned. So now, because of 30 and 40 years of histories with cultural resource firms like the ones you guys were mentioning the other day, that have long histories of recording these sites and not recording these sites, they can basically be paid off. That's what everyone needs to realize. You cannot simply focus on the cultural significance and how many sites, because the whole thing is flawed. You know, and some of the firms have built up a reputation, right? It's on a ranging scale. You have the guys that are totally corrupt over here and that will take money to say, oh, you know, just shave off a few of those areas that maybe could be potential burials. Or, you know, maybe don't include that, you know. And the reason why is because the firm, once they do the survey, as a client who is the developer, They need to come back to them and say, hey, you know, we did this report for you guys. What do you guys think? So actually the client is involved in the editing of the report. How can we trust that report? We cannot, but it's the best that we have to do it sometimes, you know? And so that's another critical issue, is the bias in the bureaucratic process of the contract for hire of the CRM firms. And it's a wide-ranging scale. I don't want to omit that we do have some really great Kanaka that are doing great things and trying to integrate things, like I said the other day, biocultural archaeology, you know, and do things in a more pono way. That's great, but, you know, it's still a contract. At the end of the day, these are businesses that have to earn their keep with their clients. So there's always going to be prescriptions to have them excel as a business and to keep them in high demand. And there's already an understanding of this. Between all of the developers, they know which firm they're going to go to if they want the rubber stamp. That's why when you guys saying the firm you guys said the other day over and over, that's well known to these developers. They're going to use this person because, oh, they're going to document less. They're willing to fluctuate on their moral integrity because they have none to designer. Another issue I want to touch on is the interpretation of sites excludes our ike kupuna. Okay. So interpretation of our sites that exclude the ike kupuna. So, you know, allowing foreign perspectives to interpret our ike kupuna of what the function and the purpose of a site is heva. Why should we read in a report from somebody that doesn't know, who's interpreting and telling us what the function and purpose of this site is? That's ridiculous. Okay, I gotta hurry up. The consultation process is lacking. The timeline and notifications to lineal descendants is also exclusive. Once there's a network of lineal descendants that they continually notify, they do not continue to do more outreach to other members in the community and lineal descendants. Sometimes these descendants are also paid off in the process. So the consultation process at the timeline of approving recommendations is also corrupt. The recommendations that come out of these reports that are then endorsed by SHPT or not endorsed by SHPT can also be excluding of the lineal descendants and the community. So that's just a few of the issues, and there's actually many more. I don't have that much time, and this is not that kind of seminar. I do want to say that our Hui ala Kupuna is here. We are here now, and we are here to support our Hua'aina and our Ohana on the other islands in any capacity that we can, with the tools and the things that we are learning and continue to learn, because really it belongs to you folks. It belongs to us, and we are just in service to that. So I am proud where I stand for all of my practices, because I am a Kanaka Oiwi, I am he Hawaii au, he Waipi o au, and I continue to holomoa alongside you guys, and mahalo.
Aloha. Aloha, my name is Kaulana Na Pua. I'm joining you from Maui, and I thank my brothers and sisters that are there and that are able to be there. And I come in spirit. I want to testify my testimony. I would like to have a full investigation of our federal, state, and county offices that continue and allow others, other entities to desecrate our sites. My apologies. We are here fighting so hard to keep our EV where they're lying. And I just want for me, I'm still learning and understanding and what I can do to protect our EV. I ask for an investigation on all levels of government for our Kanaka. Other issues are water. For here, I wasn't here on Maui too long, and I noticed when I first came, there was a stream outside my sister's home. I'm like, wow, it's so beautiful. This is 20 years later. There's no longer water coming down that stream. I'm so saddened that I'm not able to see that stream again. The water is dried up. When I look at our mountains, here on the Maui Mountains, I'm looking in Wailuku, all these homes, new homes being, I understand we need homes, but where is those water coming from? That's a really big issue here in Maui, and on other islands as well, is our water, our EV, and our land. I'm glad we were able to come together to put our minds together and we can work with each other on what is best for us. Thank you for allowing me to join this space as I'm working, and I hope others will take the time in their day to make the call, because we all are in this together. And mahalo. Once again, my name is Kaulana Na Pua. I speak on behalf of my ohana here in Maui, Kauai, my ohana on Oahu, and Moku o ke ave. Mahalo.
We are done with the testimonies at this time. So if you guys like to take maybe a 5 or 10 minute break, then we're going to have Moku Kapu come on and do his bit, and then we'll follow the rest. You're the mistress of ceremony, so okay. So just let you know. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. So those that are online and want to go get whatever refreshments, or in here, you guys need to go lose the luau, take a walk or whatever. We'll be back in about 5-10 minutes. All right.
I just wanted to say some more. You guys can take a break, but when I spoke earlier, for all that time, it didn't get recorded. So I'm just trying to put it on the record right now. And I'm so glad to have gone after Ms. Kaulana, because all of those things she was talking about has happened at the Grand Wailea, and we're in a semi-legal situation with a contested case. And I talked first about the 106. I asked our county and SHPD to give us a 106 consultation if they were not going to give us a real consultation, which they have not done, although they have recorded that they've consulted with us a few times. They have never put anything down in paper that was what we said, that was our consultation, which is stop digging up our ancestors and protect what is already in the land. Bring back or tell us what happened to our ancestors. And so, not too difficult to understand. So I asked for the 106, and they just kind of went, Then they sent the county archaeologist to talk to me, and she said, I don't think you have a federal nexus. And I said, if you read the 106 law, you'll see that the SMA permit, which is shoreline management, right? There are federal laws. The county of Maui is instituting the federal laws for this federal agency. I said, if that is not federal, I don't know what is. And then we go backwards to when they started doing the sewer line. We have the Army Corps of Engineers there. I said, if that's not federal, then what is federal? And then we can go back to where they wanted to say that the kupuna that they were going to take out of they actually were in large stone ahus, pohaku ahus. They wanted to disinter them so they could build a hotel there. And they said, there's some question that this might be from World War II because we're finding evidence of shrapnel and the war. So we think maybe this is a World War II related burial. And of course that is not true, but when we're looking at the 106 process, if they shoot bullets on our land, are we federal? I think so. I think the Army or the Marines were there. So anyway, just to make a long story short, they are really trying to ignore that we have a federal nexus for a 106 process and for NAGPRA laws, because we have two people who are very connected to this Aina and to the descendants of this area who have gone through the process with the Burial Council. And for one of them, it was extremely difficult because it seemed SHPD doing their usual things. Kaulana Phillips, the burial sites person on Maui, seemed to have lost her genealogy 3 times. And the Burial Council's going, well, where's her papers? And so we offered to give it to them right there at that meeting, and they said, oh, we can't take that. It has to come from SHPD. So this took this poor woman 4 months to be recognized, and she had all of her papers and genealogy right there. So these two people have never been consulted as descendants. And you know that if you're looking at a NAGPRA law, the descendant really has a say. And, you know, in our laws in Hawaii, they do too. But if you're working with a federal law, that is more legally challengeable to get action. And so this is one of the reasons why we have been working to try to amend the NAGPRA laws, to try to work with this organization or this department, because they are making decisions. And this one aspect of descendants could help us all to have more say with our kupuna. And so then I wanted to make the point that the archaeologist is making up their own rules, and they're making they discount how many iwi kupuna have already been reported by their own people with the resort, and SHPD is letting them. And they are lying about really consulting with us, and SHPD is letting them. And so I'd like to make a record to the National Parks Service that you're doing a really bad job of monitoring these people, and you're allowing the SHPD, since they've been investigated since 2002, has never made it so that archaeologists, one, have professional licensure or any kind of regulation of their activities. And if there is any kind of regulation in our 6E laws, it's not being enforced, because the only person I've ever heard of getting a violation was the person who wrote on the bag at the Walmart. That's the only time I've ever heard of anybody getting a violation for mishandling the iwi kupuna. So I just want to put on record that all of these things happened, and then that was a really good point. I see now that companies are using the kapa'akai analysis as a way of getting around the law and saying, and our traditional rights and beliefs, Article 12, Section 7, to practice our culture and traditions. What they did with our contested case is we had 4 days of hearing, and after months, like it was 6 months later, the Grand Wailea asked to reopen our case because they wanted to do a kapa'akai analysis. And if you know anything about the kapa'akai analysis, it is to, one, identify, are there any cultural resources? Are there any cultural practices? Will they be impacted by this project, by this proposed development? And so what we did was we made our own kapa'akai. I didn't know at the time that these studies cost like $40,000, $50,000 on up. But we were able to enlist the assistance of Kaimi Orr, Maria Orr, to help us to write up this. And I mean, I scheduled all the interviews, and we did the transcription all ourselves, but they never expected that we would produce our own study, and we did. And it was a study of real people, and we produced history that came from mostly their documents that showed that they have never, ever done a complete archaeological inventory survey on this property. But what did SHPD do? Nothing, absolutely nothing. They said, these people have gone above and beyond. Oh, and those interveners, they did even more, but these people went above and beyond, and that is with missing records. Here you go.
So we have Moku. You ready?
Okay, we have, here, you go.
So Kemoku is online, so we're going to bring him out so you can let him know that he can. We talked about Kemoku background, so his thing is to be on the water. He's going to talk on the water issues that they have in the process that they're doing. So I know that those are water issues that are going through. So if you're still online, you want to listen to that. And then also, he's going to also fill in on some of the land processes that he's gone through for their area as far as reclaiming their land commission awards, world patents. And so, yeah. And he's kind of go ahead, you get him.
Hi, Kanilua. The host has opened up to start my video.
We're working on that. Okay, kia moku.
Okay, my video still needs to go on.